and Guilds College is the engineering faculty of Imperial College. It is widely renowned for its very high academic standards, and its departments are meant to be among the best in the world in their subject. The college is supposedly producing the future captains of industry. We feel that it is worth looking at what tomorrow's captains think of today's industry. So for this video, we interviewed 10 final year students and talked to them about industry and their future careers. In the following clips, all the people talking are students, unless you are specifically told otherwise.
Industry is the future of the country.
Well, I think industry is something which is it's the basis of the whole country. I mean, without industry, the country collapses. It provides the wealth of the country. So, I mean, it's a pretty good thing. We've got to have it. And I really want to work in industry.
Everybody we talked to felt that a manufacturing base was crucial to the well-being of the country. But does City and Guilds educate people properly to service this base?
I mean, I came in with the idea that I learned a lot about chemical engineering and industry, and I wasn't exactly sure about what I was going to be taught, but I think the course has given you the technical side of chemical engineering on one side, but I think it's been also useful in the sense that it's given a broader scope of the industry.
The course has been very good in a vocational sense in that I've learnt to act and think as an engineer, both in a group context and academically.
Despite all this, a large number of graduates from City and Guilds College end up working in finance, accounting, management consultancy and so on. Michael Norrit is recruitment partner for Ernst & Winnie. We talked to him about his company's recruitment at Imperial College.
We take good people from wherever we can find them. Imperial has a good reputation, good academic reputation, and we're looking partially for people with very good academic records. It's perhaps an indictment of our professional exam system that there is a fair degree of correlation between good A-level grades and success at the professional exams. It's not all we're looking for. Personal qualities are equally important. The accounting profession as a whole, I think, last year employed 10% of all UK graduates, which some would view as quite alarming. I think that the real reason for that is that people see training as an accountant to be a general business training, and perhaps as an alternative to going into a vocational type employment and then maybe going on to do an MBA later on. The accountancy world has had a good couple of years in terms of being able to attract top quality graduates, which after all are the sort of people we're after. We believe, as far as we're concerned, my particular firm, is that people are looking for a firm which is growing, which has a good range of clients, which they can get practical experience, and will offer them really first-class training. And the sort of people we want will be ambitious and will be thinking 3 or 4 years ahead, when indeed they will be paid very well. So I don't believe that pay is critical, and in fact you'll find, I think, that amongst the accountants at least, the major firms pay similar amounts. But I don't actually think that industry is losing out in the long term. As I mentioned before, I think we actually provide, the accounting firms, the major firms provide a general business training, which of course is improving the stock of knowledge and industry type skills that all the commercial firms and the major industrial combines are seeking.
When we talked to City and Guilds students about why they wish to work in jobs outside the engineering industries, a number of factors emerged.
As a student in London, I think London is an expensive place to be a student, and after spending 3 years in London, I think it's probably a fairly common complaint among students that they end up with a large overdraft after being in London for a couple of years. I think when you're in that situation, you have to look for a job that's going to pay fairly well.
A number of students put pay as their top priority, but more often things like job satisfaction were stressed as being most important.
I used to think that money was the only thing I'd look for in a job. I've sort of changed my ideas over the last year, and now I'm looking for a rewarding career.
pay conditions, the basic factors, but I'd also like it to be interesting in a way that relates to how I'd like to build up my own future understanding of things.
I want a job that gives me a lot of responsibility, rewards if I'm good, and consequently sort of the sack if I'm bad, I suppose. Something that is, well, very interesting above all. The work is interesting rather than and useful.
A sensible career structure also appeared most important to a lot of the students.
I have doubts about engineering largely on the basis that it doesn't generally have such a good career structure as something like accounting.
Perhaps the most interesting thing that we found out was that most of the students we interviewed, both those wanting to work in industry and those wanting to work in commerce, felt that industry and society as a whole do not treat engineers at all well.
Well, I think it's just this kind of stigma attached to industry that you can go into a job in industry, you end up working in a sweaty old factory stuffed away in the north of England, really.
I think hairdressers are rated by the public as being somewhat more important than engineers are. I don't think that's a very good temptation to go into engineering.
Engineers are getting underpaid in this country compared to, say, West Germany or the States, and it's not only industry really. It's the whole attitude of the society tends not to give engineering a very good status. And
I think you get your medicine and your architects and your lawyers and solicitors having and even accountants having greater respect than engineers. I think it's something which is sort of been inbred into British society.
In an attempt to get a more global view of the situation, we interviewed two members of staff from the college. Peter Moore, the Mechanical Engineering Department's Careers Advisor, and Gary Worski, an economist who has studied the reasons why engineers do not want to work in industry.
Yes, I'm a reader in mechanical engineering and also carry the responsibilities of Careers Advisor. It must in some way be due to the very early age at which the decision is made to study engineering. I think there may be some disappointment in the career structure that seems to lie ahead in a technical engineering post. And I think some really discover that they have a liking for the world of the city and finance and commerce. It's very important for the student to understand the career paths that are possible. Sometimes I think a student sponsored by a company perhaps doesn't know quite as much about the company as he should. Wherever it can be done, I think industry should chart out, particularly towards the end of the degree period, just what careers are possible. Commerce is particularly good at publicity. I am always struck by the extremely good organisation of their advertising and recruitment campaigns, and also the trouble taken to chart out possible careers. I would like to see more sponsors openly regarding our students as potential high flyers, and devising, where appropriate, special programs, not only of training, but of development beyond training.
Well, I'd say the best experience I have doesn't come from research. It comes from 10 years of teaching engineering students at Imperial College and talking to first years and final years during that time. I think part of the problem does lie with the bad press that engineers and engineering careers get in this country. A press which I think maybe engineers here at college are too willing to buy without enough experience. I think part of the problem is also that in companies, a lot of them haven't thought through as fully as they should what to do with bright engineering graduates when they come on to their doorsteps. Some of the companies are getting quite good about the first year or two, but there's still a tremendous fall-off in thinking and about what happens to the engineers once they get their credentials. And that leads to a drop in excitement and disappointed expectation on the engineer's part. And quite often they leave the company. They may even leave manufacturing industry altogether. So there are difficulties there. But finally, I have to say, I think that engineering students and young engineers themselves are part of the problem. I think that they quite often are not sufficiently clear about what they want. They haven't really thought it through enough. And I think in particular, they may, if you like, hold their expectations too far down in terms of what engineering could be for them as a career. I think for a start, things have changed a tremendous amount in the last 10 years. That's really hard to grasp, I think, particularly if you're only in your early 20s and just coming into the scene. It's hard to imagine that actually things were much worse 10 years ago in terms of industrial sponsorship of students, in terms of some of the way we go about teaching our stuff in the college, in terms of some of the technical challenges which companies are now taking on. Everything has gotten better in that regard. And actually, engineering students, in my experience, have also gotten better and more interesting as well. You know, times have changed, and people with good A levels have looked around and they realize that engineering could be a better kind of career than other sorts of routes, whatever its pitfalls. So I'd have to say that one basis for optimism is to say that in the 10 years I've been in the college, there has been real improvement along a number of fronts. That's point one. Point two, industry is still up against it. And we have some clearer ideas than we did 10 years ago about the challenges ahead. But people realize more than they ever have before of the need to take their jobs seriously, think hard about what they're doing, and some of the better companies are really going for broke on this. They're establishing very ambitious goals for themselves indeed. And that has to make life more interesting for engineers.